You're smart. I know you are. You understand concepts quickly. You see patterns others miss. You can articulate complex ideas. So why are you still being taken advantage of? Why do people who are clearly less intelligent than you end up ahead? Why does your brilliance not translate into results, respect, or power? Because intelligence alone means nothing. Uncontrolled intelligence is just noise. Undisciplined brilliance is just potential wasted. Look around you. Notice the pattern. Smart people explain themselves too much. They justify when they should stay silent. They reveal when they should conceal. They react when they should observe. Smart people trust too early, attach too quickly, and forgive too freely. They get emotional in moments where cold calculation would protect them. They feel guilty when they shouldn't and confident when they should be cautious. And then they're shocked when they're ignored, used, replaced, or quietly pushed aside. They call it bad luck. They call it betrayal. They call it toxic people. It's none of that. It's a lack of strategic intelligence. A lack of understanding how people actually think, test, and exploit when given access. Then there's another type of person. You don't always notice them at first. They don't rush to speak. They don't reveal their thoughts easily. They don't react the way you expect. And because of that, people treat them differently. People hesitate around them, explain themselves more, test less. These individuals don't dominate conversations, but they control situations. They don't chase respect, yet they receive it. They move slower, but they move further. This isn't confidence. This isn't charisma. This is disciplined intelligence, a sharp, controlled, and dangerous kind. It's the intelligence that knows when not to speak, when not to explain, when not to react. It understands that people watch more than they listen, test more than they admit, and the moment others can fully read you, your intelligence becomes predictable, and predictability is weakness. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology put names to it. He didn't write about how people should behave, he wrote about how they actually behave. He saw that those who survive and rise are not the loudest, the kindest, or the most emotional. They are the most intelligently disciplined. They control themselves first, and because of that, they are difficult to control. Today, I'm breaking down 7 weapons, 7 laws that transform your intelligence from raw potential into strategic power. These aren't habits or tips. These are operating systems for your mind. They're uncomfortable. They don't flatter you, but they work. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Weapon 1. Strategic opacity. The first weapon. Never allow people to clearly see your position. The moment someone fully understands where you stand, how you think, or what you want, they gain the ability to adjust against you. Clarity feels honest. But in the real world, clarity is exposure. And exposure creates leverage, and leverage is rarely used in your favor. Most people expose themselves without realizing it. They explain their decisions before anyone asks. They clarify their intentions to feel safe. They justify their silence, their choices, even their boundaries. They believe being understood will protect them. It does the opposite. Once your inner logic is visible, you become predictable. Once you're predictable, you're manageable. Strategic intelligence moves differently. It doesn't rely on lies or theatrics. It relies on absence, saying less than expected, revealing only what's necessary, leaving space where others feel compelled to fill the silence. This isn't about playing games. This is about protecting position. Every unnecessary word gives someone data. Every explanation hands over context. And context is power. When people cannot place you, something shifts. They begin to hesitate. They overthink. They project assumptions that say more about them than about you. While they're guessing, you're watching. While they're reacting, you're calculating. This imbalance quietly transfers control without confrontation. Machiavelli said, "He who knows how to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." What most people miss is that deception doesn't always require falsehood. Often it requires restraint. Not revealing is enough. Silence, when deliberate, is more powerful than persuasion. This weapon also shields you from emotional pressure. Manipulation depends on visibility. Guilt works when hesitation is seen. Shame works when attachment is exposed. Urgency works when desire is obvious. When your internal state is unreadable, these tactics fail. There's nothing to grip, nothing to pull, nothing to threaten. People respect what they cannot easily access. They fear what they cannot predict. They approach carefully what does not respond on command. This is not dominance through aggression. It's authority through uncertainty. Quiet, controlled, and unsettling to those who rely on influence. Resisting the urge to explain will feel uncomfortable at first. Your instincts will push you to clarify, to correct, to defend. That impulse is emotional reflex, not intelligence. Each time you override it, you strengthen discipline. Each time you choose silence over justification, you retain ownership of your position. Over time, results compound. People stop probing. They stop demanding answers. They become cautious around you without knowing why. You're no longer easy to read, easy to rush, or easy to corner. Not because you became intimidating, but because you became contained. Strategic opacity doesn't make you cold. It makes you unreachable by manipulation. It doesn't make you dishonest. It makes you selective. You still speak when it matters. You still act when necessary. But nothing leaks out accidentally. Nothing is offered to earn approval. Weapon 2, information control. The second weapon, master selective disclosure. Most people think transparency is a virtue. That being open, candid, and available earns respect. In reality, it often does the opposite. The more you reveal, the more others can manipulate, predict, and use against you. Strategic intelligence understands that discretion is strength, opacity is armor, information is currency. Like money, it must be spent with purpose. Don't hand it out freely. Once given, it cannot be recalled. Every fact you reveal, every motive you share, every weakness you expose, it's an opportunity for others to calculate against you. Conversely, withholding selectively forces them to wonder, to speculate, and in that gap they lose control. They're chasing shadows while you maintain clarity. This weapon isn't about lying or deception. It's about being the keeper of your own story. You're not obligated to explain yourself at every turn. You're not required to justify your decisions, defend your strategies, or expose your calculations. Instead, you reveal in layers, intentionally, strategically, only when it serves your purpose. By controlling what others can see, you shape their assumptions and guide their expectations without uttering a word. Observe those around you. Notice who overshares, who justifies constantly, who spills details to seek approval. These are the ones who can be moved, influenced, undermined. They're open books, and everyone has a pen. Now consider the person who speaks sparingly, who answers questions without excess, who leaves gaps in their narrative. That person commands attention. That person becomes unpredictable. That person operates from quiet authority because others never know what's coming next. In practical terms, this weapon changes how you handle interactions. When negotiating, never reveal your bottom line prematurely. When forming alliances, never display all your capabilities at once. When facing opposition, never show your hand before the moment is right. Timing and restraint convert hidden knowledge into leverage. People may assume they know you, but assumptions are far weaker than facts, and they always carry risk. You learn to live in the grey space between their perception and your reality, and in that space lies control. The less people know, the more they listen. The less they predict, the more they react. Your influence grows silently, almost imperceptibly, until it becomes undeniable. Transparency may feel comforting, but selective opacity makes you untouchable. Control over information is control over power. Protect your core. Reveal only when necessary. Let others guess. Let them expend energy trying to uncover what you already understand. Weapon 3. Analytical empathy. The third weapon. Read people as systems, not stories. Many people misunderstand empathy as mere kindness or emotional sympathy. They think it's about feeling someone else's pain or agreeing with their perspective. Strategic intelligence turns this notion completely around. Empathy, when used analytically, becomes a tool for precision and influence. It's not about being soft or agreeable. It's about reading people as clearly as code. Understanding their motivations, fears, and desires so you can act decisively without interference. Analytical empathy is the ability to see beyond words and detect the mechanics of behavior. Every person operates from a framework shaped by experiences, insecurities, and ambitions. If you approach interactions only from your viewpoint, you remain blind to the hidden levers that control outcomes. The strategically intelligent person examines the why behind actions, not merely the what. They recognize that a harsh comment, a boast, or a passive-aggressive act is never random. It's a signal, a window into needs, priorities, and weaknesses. Observing these cues gives insight that others overlook, and insight is power. Machiavelli said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few feel what you are." This is the essence of analytical empathy. Understanding the internal landscape of others allows you to navigate social currents without being swept away by them. You learn to respond in ways that align with their logic while remaining true to your own purpose. In practice, this weapon is applied constantly. When someone resists your ideas, you don't react with frustration. Instead, you identify the underlying cause, fear, pride, uncertainty, and address that, not the surface argument. When negotiating, you frame proposals to match the other person's motivations, not your assumptions. When conflict arises, you don't get entangled in emotional battles. You map the incentives and pressures guiding behavior, then leverage that knowledge strategically. This doesn't make you manipulative in a petty sense. It makes you precise. You conserve energy, minimize resistance, create outcomes efficiently. Analytical empathy also separates comprehension from agreement. You can fully understand why someone behaves destructively without condoning it. You can recognize the forces that drive betrayal, arrogance, or obstruction without becoming a victim of them. This awareness transforms irritation into calculation, distraction into foresight, confrontation into opportunity to advance. It's the intelligence of observing the invisible gears while others focus on the spinning wheels. Notice the subtle patterns: speech, body language, timing. The details that go unnoticed by emotional responders become your advantage. You become a silent strategist in every interaction, moving deliberately while others react impulsively. Analytical empathy builds calm dominance. While others flail emotionally, you operate with clarity. You anticipate moves, prevent traps, exploit opportunities with minimal exposure. You're not just responsive, you're proactive, shaping interactions to your benefit without being obvious. This weapon transforms perception into leverage. Your understanding is your weapon. Your patience is your shield. The fourth weapon: build a mind that answers to no one but itself. Most people live as colonies of their own emotions, swayed by external forces, tossed around by praise, criticism, or circumstance. Their internal world is fragile, dependent on the approval of others. And because of this, they can be controlled, manipulated, and destabilized without ever realizing it. The foundation of strategic intelligence is mental sovereignty, an internal kingdom ruled by reason, clarity, and unshakable self-discipline. Mental sovereignty begins with ownership. You must accept full responsibility for your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. External events may trigger discomfort, but they cannot dictate your judgment unless you allow them to. A sovereign mind does not react impulsively. It does not seek reassurance from outside sources. Praise, recognition, social validation, these are treated as information, not fuel. Criticism is examined objectively without inflating or deflating your self-worth. Every external influence passes through the filter of your own logic and principles. Emotions are not your enemy, but uncontrolled emotions are weakness. A sovereign mind observes feelings without surrendering to them. Anger becomes insight, fear becomes data, desire becomes direction. The disciplined observer never confuses reaction with action. While others lash out, withdraw, or overcompensate, you navigate the situation with calm efficiency. Your inner state becomes a stable platform from which all decisions are measured, rather than a storm that determines the path forward. Machiavelli said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command himself." Commanding yourself is the first step to commanding any environment. When your mind is sovereign, manipulation loses power. Attempts to provoke, intimidate, or influence you are neutralized simply because your core remains unassailable. A sovereign individual is like a fortress. The walls may be observed, but the gates are controlled only by the ruler inside. No external voice or circumstance dictates the movement within. Building this sovereignty requires brutal honesty. You must identify areas where you seek approval, where insecurity dictates behavior, and where fear prevents decisive action. Each concession to external pressure weakens your internal authority. Every decision made from principle rather than validation reinforces your independence over time. This creates psychological immunity to coercion, gossip, and deception. Mental sovereignty also amplifies resilience. Failures are reframed as lessons, setbacks as feedback, opposition as a challenge to analyze rather than a verdict to internalize. Your mental state is no longer a battlefield. It's a command center. You can see clearly where to advance, where to retreat, and where to hold ground. Your energy is conserved for strategic moves rather than wasted on emotional turbulence. A mind that is sovereign is dangerous to others because it cannot be manipulated, distracted, or broken. It becomes the anchor in chaos, the calm in storms, the engine of decisive action. Mental sovereignty isn't about isolation or detachment. It's about mastery. It ensures your decisions are guided by clarity, strategy, and self-trust, rather than the whims of people who don't share your objectives. In this state, you operate from power that is internal, sustainable, and unstoppable. Weapon 5. Execution over explanation. The fifth weapon. Let your results be your argument. Anyone can make promises, give advice, build elaborate explanations. Most people live in the world of discussion, endlessly explaining, justifying, and debating their intentions. But explanation is weak. Action is undeniable. Execution is the language of power. Results are proof that your intelligence is more than thought, it's force. In a world obsessed with appearances, your deeds are your reputation, your credibility, your leverage. This weapon demands a radical shift. Stop talking about what you will do. Start doing it. Every plan, strategy, or idea has two possible outcomes, realized or unrealized. Talking about a result without creating it achieves nothing. Action converts potential into reality. Every completed project, every resolved problem, every visible achievement becomes an argument that cannot be disputed. Competence is demonstrated, not declared. Influence is earned through output, not rhetoric. Machiavelli said, "Men in general judge more by the sense of sight than by the sense of touch." Everyone can see, but few can feel. Your actions are what people see. Your intelligence is measured by what's tangible, not what's theorized. Execution as argument also simplifies decision-making. When you focus on action, endless debate loses relevance. You no longer expend energy defending opinions, proving ideas, or convincing naysayers. Instead, your energy channels into producing measurable results. This makes life simpler, faster, more efficient. While others are caught in cycles of argument, analysis, and hesitation, you're building momentum. Progress itself becomes a barrier that keeps critics behind you. This weapon transforms risk into clarity. Words can mislead, intentions can confuse, but actions reveal truth. When you act, you either succeed or fail. Both outcomes provide feedback that no conversation can deliver. Failures are valuable. They expose weaknesses, gaps, miscalculations. Successes are undeniable. They cement credibility, authority, influence. This weapon forces you to embrace responsibility. Your results are the only things you truly control. Others may talk, speculate, or judge, but your execution is your domain, independent of opinion. This principle also eliminates the illusion of busyness. Many people confuse activity with accomplishment. Meetings, messages, plans, discussions, they create the feeling of progress, but rarely yield results. Strategic intelligence distinguishes between noise and signal. Execution as argument insists that time, focus, and effort are only valuable when they produce real outcomes. This weapon refines priorities, directing energy toward moves that produce impact. Everything else is secondary. Furthermore, this weapon builds momentum. Success breeds influence. Influence accelerates opportunity. The person who consistently executes creates gravity that draws resources, allies, advantages. In contrast, words alone attract nothing but skepticism. When your actions align with your objectives, you become a living demonstration of intelligence applied. People watch, learn, follow, because results speak louder than anything else. Execution as argument is ruthless because it leaves no room for ego-driven debates. Criticism, gossip, doubt, irrelevant to a person who produces. You stop wasting energy proving yourself verbally. Instead, you let reality prove your skill, insight, discipline. When you fully internalize this weapon, your life transforms. You become the person whose presence alone signals competence. Your reputation is built on outcomes. Your influence is earned through deeds. Your intelligence is demonstrated through execution. The sixth weapon, master the calculated end. Most people are sentimental creatures. They cling to things long past their usefulness, relationships, projects, habits, identities, because letting go feels uncomfortable. The past has a strong grip. Human nature makes it difficult to sever attachments even when it's clear they're holding you back. Strategic intelligence recognizes that emotional attachment is often the silent killer of progress. To act with clarity and power, you must learn to conclude what no longer serves your objectives. Ruthless severance is about assessing situations with a cold, logical lens. Every venture, every commitment, every interaction has a lifespan. Not all beginnings lead to successful middles. Not all middles deserve prolonged investment. A strategically intelligent person evaluates cost-benefit with precision. Is this effort moving you toward your goal or draining your resources? Is this partnership still aligned with your values or consuming more than it contributes? Can this project realistically produce the result you need, or is it a distraction disguised as progress? Answering these questions honestly allows you to administer endings decisively, without hesitation or regret. Ending something doesn't mean failure. It means intelligence. It's a demonstration of control over your life, a refusal to be trapped by past choices. It requires courage because most people equate closure with loss. But the truth is that failing to end what no longer works guarantees far greater loss in wasted time, energy, and potential. This weapon demands that you treat your commitments as assets. If an asset depreciates to the point of no return, you liquidate it. You don't hold on out of nostalgia, guilt, or fear of judgment. You act strategically, prioritizing outcomes over sentiment. Ruthless severance also applies to identity. Who you were yesterday doesn't define who you must be today. Habits, beliefs, routines that once served you may now be obsolete. Strategic intelligence allows you to shed outdated versions of yourself. This isn't rejection of growth. It's the embrace of evolution. Every decision to end something is an investment in a stronger, sharper future. It frees mental bandwidth, energy, focus for what genuinely matters. This weapon teaches the power of timing. There's a precise moment to conclude. Acting too early or too late diminishes effectiveness. Ending too soon may sacrifice potential. Ending too late wastes resources. The intelligent person cultivates awareness to recognize the optimal moment. Observation, experience, disciplined reflection create the ability to act decisively. Once the decision is made, you don't waver. Hesitation undermines the very intelligence you've cultivated. Machiavelli said, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." Adaptation requires ending patterns that no longer produce results. To cling to what's familiar is to invite failure. To embrace ruthless severance is to harness flexibility without chaos, discipline without rigidity, and clarity without emotional confusion. Ruthless severance is a shield against decay. It protects your mission, your energy, your trajectory. It separates the useful from the burdensome, the productive from the distracting, the essential from the trivial. By mastering this weapon, you ensure that your life flows toward results rather than stagnation. You're no longer held hostage by past choices. You act in alignment with present realities and future ambitions. The seventh weapon, single-target domination. Intelligence, no matter how sharp, is wasted when scattered across countless targets. The modern world is engineered for distraction. Every moment is an invitation to fragment your attention. News, opinions, opportunities, people, obligations, constantly competing for your mental energy. Most individuals respond like leaves in a storm, shifting direction with every gust. Never building momentum, never achieving depth. Strategic intelligence rejects this. It demands single-minded concentration on the objective that matters most, the one goal that defines your trajectory. Laser focus begins with clarity. You must identify your one priority, the result that, if achieved, renders all other pursuits either easier or irrelevant. This isn't multitasking or dabbling, it's prioritization to the point of obsession. All decisions, interactions, investments are filtered through this lens. Every yes is deliberate. Every no is strategic. A person governed by this weapon understands that attention is the most valuable currency. Where it flows determines what manifests in reality. Discipline is at the heart of this weapon. Focus requires saying no to attractive distractions, good opportunities that aren't great, and minor emergencies that don't serve the central mission. It means ignoring praise and criticism alike when they pull you away from your path. It demands resistance to the social pressure of being everywhere, doing everything, or keeping everyone happy. In practicing laser focus, you cultivate a mental laser capable of cutting through complexity, filtering noise, and producing results that scattered observers cannot fathom. The power of this weapon lies not just in action, but in the immunity it creates. When your attention is fixed on your core objective, manipulation becomes difficult. Others cannot sway you with drama, gossip, or enticing diversions. Your mental state becomes a fortress, your actions precise and inevitable. Challenges are assessed against a single question: does this move me toward my one thing? If not, they're discarded without hesitation. This creates speed, momentum, clarity that others cannot replicate. A quiet yet undeniable dominance in any environment. Laser focus is also cumulative. Each day of concentrated attention compounds into results far greater than scattered effort. The distractions that derail others merely strengthen your advantage. While others dabble in many areas, you drill deep into one, creating mastery, influence, outcomes that appear effortless but are built on relentless concentration. The results themselves reinforce focus, creating a feedback loop of momentum that makes deviation increasingly costly. Machiavelli said, "It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver." A mind with laser focus deceives distraction. It moves unseen, uninterrupted, unstoppable toward its goal. You're not swayed by appearances, trends, or the whims of others. You're not seduced by novelty or idle chatter. Your commitment to your primary objective is absolute, a magnet that aligns resources, energy, people toward your vision. This weapon also requires patience. Focused intelligence doesn't rush. It maintains endurance over time, weathering setbacks and resisting the temptation of instant gratification. Small, consistent steps taken with precision accumulate into enormous advantage. Your life becomes a singular force, an arrow shot with intention, unstoppable once released. Finally, focus is protective. It safeguards your energy, your decisions, your results. It prevents dilution of your intelligence into meaningless engagements. By mastering laser focus, you ensure that your time, energy, actions are spent only where they matter most. You create a trajectory that is formidable, deliberate, and impossible to derail. These 7 weapons are not habits, tricks, or temporary strategies. They're an operating system for your mind, a framework for intelligence that is deliberate, dangerous, and unshakable. They're the lens through which you see every interaction, every challenge, every opportunity. They're the architecture of a life that cannot be manipulated, derailed, or diminished by the chaos around you. Strategic opacity, information control, analytical empathy, mental sovereignty, execution over explanation, ruthless severance, laser focus. These are the weapons of intelligent power. Don't try to master them all at once. That's the path of frustration and failure. Begin with the weapon that resonates most deeply with the friction you feel in your life. Apply it with full attention for 30 days. Observe what changes. Observe how people respond differently to you. Notice the shift in your clarity, your decision-making, the results you create. One weapon mastered becomes a multiplier for the others. Momentum builds. Your confidence grows. Your intelligence, sharpened by disciplined action, becomes visible, undeniable, respected. This isn't about becoming cruel or manipulative. It's about becoming so strategically sound, so mentally grounded, so self-possessed that no external force can move you. The world will always test you with deception, distraction, drama. People will try to control you through fear, approval, conflict. The weak respond emotionally, the intelligent respond deliberately. You become untouchable because you're anchored in your own laws, your own standards, your own results.